Hey, what's up, everybody? I figured I'd get a chance to do one of the reviews that I was very highly anticipating, which was the Halloween 2018 version, which is, of course, the 40th anniversary to the original Halloween movie, and it serves as a direct sequel to the first one, which sadly, takes place in yet another, alternate timeline, thus, disregarding, everything after the first one, which I thought was, kind of stupid in my opinion. And of course, losing the sibling angling, from Halloween 2, because I feel like, by losing that connection, it doesn't like make sense. Like, why would Michael, go after Laurie for no apparent reason? Even though, of course, it's like what Loomis said. He's, evil on two legs that, does what he does for no reason. And I kind of understand. I guess the producers wanted a clean slate. Since the sequels, kind of got a little confusing. Particularly the course of Michael Myers that tried to explain Michael's origins but didn't really do the greatest, job with it. And of course, trying to give, I guess, Laurie Strode more heroic send off, or wouldn't say heroic send off, but I would just say, much better than that lame ass death that she had, in Halloween Resurrection, which I thought was a pathetic excuse at that time, to conclude her story. And to this day, I personally, believe that H2O, at that time being the 20th anniversary of the original film, in my personal opinion, served as the more proper, conclusion, to Laurie's, story. And I still consider that particular one, the end of, and a more fitting send off for Laurie's story at that time. But anyway, I figured, I'll talk about what I thought about the 40th anniversary film. I mean, Laurie's been kind of like suffering from post traumatic stress for the last 40 years as a result, of the death of her, friends, back in 1978. And, she's kind of been like, preparing for like Michael's return. And that kind of sense it's like an homage to like, Sarah Connor from The Terminator, in which, after the events of the first film, she became like a hardened seasoned warrior to prepare, in that case, for the machine's return. And, of course, like Sarah Connor, Laurie's, approach kind of alienated her daughter Karen. I'm like, how the hell does she even have a different, daughter, considering that Halloween 4, she had a daughter, Jamie, which I thought was kind of stupid, to erase her from the series timeline when they did, H2O, but at that particular time, that was, I guess they chose to, it felt it would be easier to focus, on Laurie's, character rather than overcomplicating itself. And, of course, she had the son, John, which, in this alternate timeline is not mentioned, which I thought was also kind of lame since, in my personal opinion, I thought it would have been kind of cool if, like, say, either one, they decided, to do like a direct sequel, to H2O, which would have made more sense as to why, Laurie became the more hard ass, warrior, that she became, since, in my particular opinion, like, say if they, for example, they wanted to keep, that lame twist in Resurrection, all that, the person Laurie thought she killed at the time wasn't Michael, but some, paramedic. I mean, what, I would have done personally, like, you could have said that instead, Laurie kind of like either fake, say she either faked her death in Resurrection, wasn't dead like they thought she was, and kind of like, she was, went to hiding, preparing herself for Michael's inevitable return, thus becoming, the new Loomis. Or they could have, focused on, Laurie's son John from H2O, and he kind of takes over the, Laurie's, role, kind of like preparing for his uncle's return, and then, kind of like finding more about his, backstory, particularly with his mother. And then, of course, it would have been, I think, a much better story if they would have reestablished, Halloween 4 and 5 and 6 in the main timeline. It could have just been said, it could have been like a cover up or, something like that. But, I just think that's just not the way it turned out. So I'll just say basically, for the 40th anniversary film, while it was much better, than Resurrection, and had a better story. And of course, it was good to see, Jamie Lee Curtis back in her, signature role, and, showing how a victim of trauma, has like a hard time trying to move on and things like that. but I kind of felt it was trying to like rehash a little bit too much of the first one. It was like trying to file, like in terms of like the style and things like that. I'll just say personally, the first two, number four and H2, are still my favorites, in the bunch. And I kind of felt like, the 40th anniversary film, if they really wanted to make, a different approach to it, they could have brought back, like, previous survivors, from the first one, including, like, Tommy and Lindsay and, Marion Chambers, if they wanted to just do a direct sequel, to the first movie. But I will just say, I don't want to give it away too much. I personally would be okay if they didn't do another one after this, since it's somewhat of a fitting send-off. But knowing Hollywood, probably, anticipating how successful the 40th anniversary film will be, they'll probably just do another sequel and milk it to death, which I don't think is really necessary. But that's just my verdict. I mean, I'll just say for a diehard, Halloween fan, I'll say, like I said, well, better than Resurrection, but I kind of felt like I said it could have been a hell of a lot better, because to me, I kind of feel like it was kind of insulting, to kind of like disregard the continuity of this, of the sequels, that came after the first one. I personally think it would have been better to just maintain the continuity wise, no matter how crazy or butchered or hard it was to tie it in together. But that's just my verdict, because it's like saying everything else after the first one never happened. But that's just my thing. So maybe other people who've seen it might have a different reaction to it. But like I said, I was expecting a lot more, and it could have been a hell of a lot better than what it was. But that's just my reaction. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching.